Hey, this is Andy back again with part 2 of an unknown number of parts to this little series I'm doing called 66 horror movies that quite possibly you've never seen unless you're helmet diggy and you've seen everything that I've shown so far. So, that being said, here we go for round 2. I'm just going to ramble. Oh, didn't he ramble? Maybe try to do this in 15 minutes. Squeeze these in. So here we go. From 1987, Near Dark. Near Dark. I love this movie. One of my favorite vampire movies, believe it or not. Definitely some of what's his name? Bill Paxton. Some of Bill Paxton's finest acting in this. He plays one of the vampires. Also, you've got Lance Hendrickson and a handful of people that were all in the Alien movies. About the same time Aliens was going on, they were shooting this one too. So it's kind of the same batch of folks, sort of, kind of. Really great vampire movie. In my opinion. I won't give away the ending or anything, but if you haven't seen Near Dark, definitely worth your time. The next movie is part of a franchise of films. It's the first in the franchise, and I can't make out the date because the back is so dark, but Wrong Turn. This stars Elissa Dushku, or however you pronounce her name, and this is a really good throwback to the hillbilly redneck inbred killing kind of movie, where you kind of like Texas Chainsaw. It's a family of inbred folks that live out in the woods and do what they got to do to survive. So yeah, Wrong Turn. Check it out. The next one is a foreign movie. Came out in and when did this come out? 2006? That's not right. Maybe 2006 on DVD. I'm not sure about the year that this originally came out, but it's Cemetery Man, starring Rupert Everett. This is a weird movie. He gets hired to be the caretaker of this graveyard, and his primary focus is to keep the dead in the graveyard. So that gives you an idea of what's going on here. A lot of sexy time going on in this movie. Sexy time with dead folks. So if you can handle that, this is a really good one. Cemetery Man, Rupert Everett. This next one was a rental that kind of surprised me. I never heard anything about this movie when it first came out. 2008. The movie is called Splinter. Not what I thought it was going to be. But, you know, you sit down and you watch one of these movies that you've never heard of, knowing it's a B-grade movie with a bunch of actors you've never heard of before, and when it turns out to be really good and have a really good plot line and have a few twists and turns that kind of surprise you, that's this movie, Splinter. It's a brutal, clever, and intriguing film loaded with blood, guts, and gore. A hell of a good time. So says BloodyDisgusting.com. I really liked it. I won't tell you why it's called Splinter. Watch it for yourself. Okay, the next one came out in 2003, and the movie is called Mute Witness. It's about a girl, and she's mute, and she's working on the set of a movie. It's been a while since I've seen it. I'm recanting this from memory. She's either working for or is on the set of this movie When she finds out there's something going on, she stumbles upon some folks making a snuff film, being a witness to it. They spend the rest of the movie trying to track her down and kill her. She can't speak, she can't scream, she can't beg for mercy. Be a witness. Next, here a few years ago, there were these companies, I guess, coming out with batches of horror films, such as this. This is the After Dark Horror Fest 8 Films to Die For, where every year they would pick the 8 best indie horror movies that they thought of the time. Well, I've seen a lot of them, and my personal favorite is this one. Came out again in 2006, The Grave Dancers. This is another kind of shocker movie that was better than I thought it was going to be, and it had a few twists and turns. It's about these 3 folks that all went to school together, who've all grown up, moved out, moved to different parts of the world, have their own lives. Well, one of their friends passes away, so they all come back to the small town that they originally grew up in to go to his funeral. After the funeral, they go out to his grave to have a drink, and let's just say some occult type stuff goes down, and some ghosties get summoned in the process. And the ghosts that are in this flick, some of them are pretty terrifying. So, Grave Dancers. Next is another Cthulhu-inspired movie, which I love the Cthulhu mythos. I love all that stuff. This is another movie directed by Stuart Gordon, who also did Reanimator. This is Dagon, H.P. Lovecraft's Dagon. Now, they took a lot of, what's the word? They did what they wanted to with Dagon, because I've read the book, the story. It's kind of a short story, and it has nothing to do with this movie. But the movie is well worth a watch. It's a foreign film, although it's it's American actors mainly, but a lot of the people aren't American. I think it was shot somewhere in Spain, but it's all kinds of good fishy creatures that fall under the Cthulhu mythos, and it's got some good special effects. Parts of it can be cheesy. There's parts of it that are really scary. There's some jump scares in it. There's a lot of suspense scenes, and I really like this one. Okay. Next, we've got a Japanese film. I'd never heard this movie until I saw who the director was, which he directed another film that I'm a big fan of that I didn't put in this list because I don't consider it a horror movie, but this one is. The film is directed by Takashi Miike, or however you want to pronounce his name. The movie is Audition. Audition is a really good psychological type horror movie that doesn't really get into the nitty-gritty, the nuts of the actual horror aspect until like the last 15 minutes of the movie, and then it's gruesome. It's about this guy who's just nice as he can be, and he works in the movie industry. So his wife had passed away several years ago. He'd like to meet a nice girl, but he doesn't know how to go about doing it. He's been out of the loop for so long. Well, one of his Hollywood buddy, well, not Hollywood, but one of his movie making buddies says, well, come up with an idea for like a movie that's not going to happen and audition a bunch of female characters or a bunch of females for the lead, and then you've got women lined up at your door to choose from, you know. So against his better judgment, he does do this. And while auditioning these girls for these parts, there's one girl that is very timid. She's very shy, very meek, and he kind of falls for her. And she's more than she appears. I'll just put it that way. But audition, watch it. Trust me. Okay, next is a movie. Came out in 2002, and it is an exceptional piece of work. The movie is Cradle of Fear. And the reason it's called that is because Danny Filth of the metal band Cradle of Filth is the star of this movie. It's enough blood and guts to satisfy the most terminal gorehounds. You have been warned. It stars Danny Filth and a bunch of other people you've never heard of. And it's kind of a collection of short stories that all follow one after another. But it's got some weird, twisted, brutal stuff. There's some amputee sex stuff that goes on in this movie that's kind of hard to watch. But overall, it's definitely worth checking out. And if you're a Cradle of Filth fan, you know, Danny Filth, he actually does a pretty good job in this of being a freaky vampire type kind of guy. So, and then here's the last one for this video. I think I got 10 of them in on this one. A film by Armando de Osorio, Tombs of the Blind Dead, Italian film, came out in 1971. Wasn't a big hit, didn't go over well. It's horror fans worldwide consider this to be Spain's Night of the Living Dead. So when this movie was released, I want to say I can't remember in what country. Planet of the Apes was huge at the time, so this movie was kind of recut and renamed Revenge from Planet Ape for that audience, wherever that was. I can't remember. It's in the documentary that's on this. But Tombs of the Blind Dead, it's a twisted take. The dead are really slow moving in this one, but they're just so horrifying. So yeah, Tombs of the Blind Dead. Check that out. That's my stuff for this video. Hope you liked it. Comment below if you've seen any of these. Let me know. And I'll get part 3 together soon. So take care. We'll see you next time. Peace.